So this is a DIY series to teach you how to print or embroider blank clothing. It's meant for people who want to make their own brand of clothing, to make custom apparel for their event, their group, their school, or their company. It's designed to help you save money, basically, when it comes down to it. So let's get started, and I'll tell you everything I know. So where do you start? You can start by searching for the products that is going to best represent your project. In Canada, I would recommend T-shirt.ca, blankapparel.ca, blankshirts.ca, or blankclothing.ca. In the US, you can visit blankshirts.com, blankapparel.com, or apparel.com. If you're not sure what you want to buy, I recommend just buying a few styles, having them delivered ahead of time, checking out the sizing, the colors. It's the best way to get to know the products that you're eventually going to print a lot of. And once you've decided what products you like and products you're going to use, you can have them delivered to your house, or you can have them delivered directly to your screen printer. Buying some samples first, trying them on is always a great idea. Everything on the websites are designed to be printed. It's made for the promotional industry. Everything you're going to be purchasing is going to be ideal for screen printing or embroidery. The quality of the garments, in my opinion, are very similar. A lot of the times the difference is just in the materials that they're made in. A lot of times we think of a lighter shirt not being as good quality, but really they're all manufactured the same. They're just slightly different materials, that one might be heavier and one might be lighter. Just because a product is less expensive doesn't always mean it's lower quality. What sizes do you order? Well, if you have a group of people and you've already tried on some samples and done some tests and they've given you their size, then you're good. You can skip this step. But if you're having to buy for a group that you don't know their sizes, or make some products that you want to sell in the future, you kind of have to guess at what sizes that you want to print. There's usually a ratio of 1 small, 3 medium, 5 large, and say 2 extra large. This number will depend on your group and who you're looking to sell to. If your demographic is a little older, you'd probably want to lean closer to the larger sizes. If you had a younger group, then you'd probably lean against some of the more medium range or smaller sizes. No matter what sizes you pick, you're always going to run out of some and you're going to have too much of another, so good luck. So what printing option do you use for your project? This is determined by a lot of things. Ideally, we're trying to achieve the best quality print for the least amount of money, as always. So definitely I recommend, if you're using a contract printer, get a few different quotes for your project. They're going to come back with different options. Some printers are going to be, lean towards the option that they can actually provide, as maybe they don't have the equipment to provide direct-to-garment printing. They can only provide screen printing. So they're going to try to maybe pigeonhole you into what they can do best for you. Shop around, get some prices, and the price might determine what printing option is going to be best for your project. Some basic rules. If you're printing, say, over 50 shirts, I would start leaning towards screen printing. If your logo has 1 to 3 colors, screen printing is a very easy choice as well. If you're printing low runs of shirts and you have many colors in your logo, direct-to-garment printing might be a better option. Some of you at home might have a vinyl cutting machine, a Cricut cutter, where you can cut your own vinyl and heat press that onto your garments. That's a great option, fantastic, side hustle option. I don't like it as much if you're trying to create something that you're going to sell later on for a retail product. For those who don't know, what is screen printing? Screen printing is the most popular and cost-effective way to print t-shirts. In my opinion, it's also the best quality. There's a lot of preparation that goes into printing a shirt. You have to make films, you need to make screens, you need to set up a press. You have to then align all the colors together if you have more than one color. The preparation is a lot. It can take a lot of time. In some cases, setting up a t-shirt press will take longer than actually printing the shirts itself. Basically, every color of your logo that you're printing has its own separate station. As the machine turns, your shirt would stop at each station, get that color, and then move on to the next color until all the colors of your logo are printed, and then the shirt is taken off, put through a dryer, and cured. The pros of screen printing is it's gonna be a cost-effective way to print a lot of shirts. It's gonna last the longest, it's gonna look sharp. You can also print a lot of shirts fast if you have a large order. The cons, it takes a lot of time to set up the press. So small runs of 12 and under, it's a lot of work to set up a screen print machine just to print 12 shirts. And because of that, it makes it quite expensive to print small runs. It stands for direct to garment. It's a fairly new technology to print shirts. You don't need screens, you don't need films, there's no setups. Basically, it's like a color printer that you'd print paper on, but it prints T-shirts instead. You put in a shirt, 5 minutes later, out comes a printed shirt. It's great for small runs and images that have lots of colors. Some of the cons of printing with direct-to-garment, it can be expensive. The ink is expensive. So if you have a large image and you're trying to print that direct-to-garment, it could be quite expensive. The quality is getting better every year, but I'm not a fan of the finished product as much as screen printing, especially if you're doing solid colors, direct to garment. The colors are a little softer, they're not as punchy, they don't quite jump off the shirt as much. Some of the other cons is that the process of printing a shirt can be slow, so it can take a lot of time. Time is money, so the process can end up being more expensive than screen printing. So small runs, lots of colors, DTG is a great option. The third option, which is a popular option for a lot of people, is vinyl transfers. There's a lot of people out there that have an at-home system with a Cricut vinyl printer where they cut the logos themselves and maybe have a heat press or an iron, and they iron or heat press the vinyl right onto the garment. It can be a cost-effective way to do small runs. It's going to be quite labor-intensive if you had a large number of shirts to produce. Also, it's meant more for one, maybe two colors. Each time you have another color, it's just another application that you have to try to heat press on. I recommend that for having a small side hustle, but I don't recommend it for doing a large number of shirts. So if you're not printing your shirts yourself, then you need to find a contract screen printer. A contract printer is someone who typically does not print on their goods, they'll print on your goods. Ideally, you'll want to find a couple of contract printers to work with. Some might have different options to print your shirts than others. Local's nice, so you can actually go down there and see the goods firsthand, see what they can do, sign off on any print stuff if need be. That might not be a scenario for you, so you'll have to work with a remote printer, someone who's maybe not that close to you. I recommend a contract printer that can do a bunch of different processes for you, so you don't have to be stuck with just doing one. Ideally they have direct to garment and they have screen printing, just so you can cover your bases. Having more than one contractor is definitely beneficial. Okay, so now you've decided on what clothing you want to buy, you found some contract screen printers, now it's time to place your order. First thing you need to do is you need to create a purchase order to send over to the printer. This is a very important document, basically outlining and describing your project. It's like the recipe of making your shirts. It's going to have as much detail on it as possible. It's going to have your PO number, your name, the number of shirts you have, the colors, the sizes, the style, the description. It'll have the description of your logo, the number of colors, the size, the location, as much detail about the project as possible so that when they're looking at it, they can decipher it and understand exactly what you're trying to produce. They're going to follow up with a proof, which I'm going to talk about next. The proof is a document that's going to be provided by your printers that's going to visually help you understand and help them understand what you're trying to achieve. It's not to scale. It's just a representation, but there's going to be a lot of details that you're going to need to go over and confirm before you print. It's going to have your image on it that you're looking to print. It's going to show you the size, but it's going to show you in a text as a dimension. The logo on the proof itself won't be to scale. So you have to look to make sure that the dimension of the logo is correct. It's also going to provide Pantones or the colors that you're looking to print. It's going to display the location of the print. In a sense, it's going to be on the center chest, it's going to be left chest, it's going to be center back. All the details of your order visually should be displayed on the purchase order. If you have any questions that you're not quite clear, make sure you're clear. This is where the liability transfers from the printer to you. If you sign off on the proof and it's wrong, it's now your fault. That document is what's going to hold your printer's feet to the fire when something is not printed correctly. When you have that document, you can go back and go, look, this is supposed to be this big, and you printed it this big. Believe me, there's going to be lots of instances where the proof is not going to be correct. Hopefully, if you're printing for yourself, that you're the last line of defense, you're going to have to catch it. If you're printing your goods for a third party, you have to send it off to them for their last approval. They might catch something that they didn't agree to or that they don't want. It's kind of like your last defense before you screw up the order. So very important to pay attention, and definitely very important to make sure that your contract printer is providing one. Artwork files. Your printer is going to need some type of artwork file to produce your goods. This part is a little complicated and a little confusing for some if you're not art savvy in the digital world of printing. Basically, they're going to want something which is called a vector file or outlines, something that they can scale and change the size easily and be able to manipulate easily. This is usually done with like Adobe Illustrator. If that's all French to you, then you might need someone with a little bit of savvy to help you out with that. A lot of times I'll get an image that's like a JPEG, a really small JPEG, and they're like, I want to print this, and you're like, it's impossible. You can't. It's just the scale. It doesn't have the right ratio. It's just, you can't print it. So in that case, it has to be redrawn and remade. Not a problem. It's just going to cost money. If you have a JPEG, it can be used for screen printing. It just needs to be very, very large so that it doesn't become pixelated when you are printing it. This is a big piece that you need to figure out. You need to learn what's the best practices used by your contract printer. What do they want? What image size do they want? What format do they want? The better you're versed in this topic, the better you're going to be communicating with your printer and the better your jobs are going to turn out. They're going to want a vector format, some type of PDF, some type of AI file. What they don't want is low-res JPEGs. They're just going to kick them back at you going, we can't print from this. So then you're going to be responsible for then getting it redrawn or remade in a vector format that they can scale and use for the purposes of making your films and then your screens. Your printer might be asking for Pantone Colors. You're like, Pantone Colors? What the heck's Pantone Colors? This is a Pantone book. They're all like different numbers. It's basically like a little roadmap to explain what color you want to print. You can go online. You can go to Pantone.com and you can go search for colors. It's difficult though, because you're going to have your monitor, which is going to show a color, which on your monitor is going to look different than my monitor. It will get you close, but it's not going to be exact. The exact way to do it, we have a Pantone book. If your contract printer is close by, you can obviously go and visit and go pick the colors you want. But if you have some off colors that aren't on the normal, like navy blue, Kelly green, shop red, black, white. I mean, there's some basic colors that you can obviously just ask for, but if you have anything off the beaten path, they're going to need a Pantone color to make that color for you. Counting your goods. This is a super important tip. You need to do it or your printer needs to do it. Ideally, if you're shipping your goods directly to your printer, when they arrive, they open the box, they count it, make sure that all the sizes are correct, all the colors are correct, and the style is correct. They're going to take this information off of your purchase order that you've provided. If there's a discrepancy, they're going to let you know. They're going to be, hey, you're missing 5 small. And you might be like, oh yeah, no, it's coming later in a different shipment. Great. Or, hey, we got blue and you have black on your purchase order. What's correct? You might be like, oh, no. Crap, we wanted black. So it's up to them. It becomes their responsibility to make sure that they're printing on the goods that you suggested you're sending over. If they end up printing on those goods and they are wrong, it is now the printer's responsibility to replace those goods, not yours. This is where the purchase order comes in handy. If you never described what your order looks like or what color's coming or what sizes, and then they just print whatever's in those boxes. It's on your shoulders. It's your liability and you're responsible. So make sure if your contract printer isn't going to count in the goods, make sure that you count in the goods. Some printers want to count in the goods the day they're going to print. It's too late. You need to count your goods in the day they arrive to make sure that everything's in that box, so that when they are going to print in a week from that time or 2 weeks from that time, that they're not scrambling around going, oh, we can't print this today. We're missing a box, or they're the wrong size or the wrong color. Count it in early, and it's going to save a world of headaches in the future. Take a 50% deposit. So this is for everyone out there who's not printing their own goods, but they're printing goods on behalf of someone else, a third party. Make sure you take a 50% deposit. It's good practice to start right from the get-go. Last thing you want is you take an order, you get it all prepared, you're about to print the goods, and they say, I don't want to do it any longer. Well, that 50% deposit is going to cover your butt for returning the goods or any of the expenses associated with returning product or any of the work that you've maybe already done to produce the order. It's good practice to take the deposit before you start the order. Don't rush your orders. Give lots of time to your printer to get the job done. 2 weeks, 3 weeks is fantastic. They can maybe turn around faster, but just make sure you have lots of time. You never know when your shirts arrive and they're 5 days ground and you need more shirts and they're another 5 days out. If your order's in 2 weeks, they could probably still handle that. If you're trying to do that in a week, you're now airing goods from wherever to try to get them to the printer on time, costing you money. This is where all the little details are missed in the proof. Everything's trying to go fast, trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Mistakes are going to happen, but they're always on the rush orders. So take your time, give yourself a lot of leeway to get your project done, and they're going to come out better more times than not. Shipping, logistics. Super important. You want to make sure that you have enough time to get the goods from the printer to yourself or to your customer on time. This is the deal, right? You're saying you can do this job in a certain amount of time, and maybe you have, and now you're relying on the delivery company to get it there on time for you. They are good, but sometimes they don't deliver on time. So you want to always give yourself a couple days grace if you can, at least one, but ideally like 3 or 4. I've been messed up, I don't know how many times by that there was like a holiday and I forgot that Monday was a holiday, and you're like, oh my God, we're not shipping these goods until Tuesday. Well, you had it all planned out that they were going to arrive on time, but now you're a day short, right? So always try to figure out your logistics ahead of time. Give yourself a few days grace if you can. There's nothing worse than stressing over checking a tracking number every 10 minutes and seeing if your customer received their order or not. Hopefully it will save you some sleepless nights, making sure your order is arriving on time.